Hi everyone, it's Shakeena Melbourne again, the founder of Upton Law PLLC. In today's video, we're going to talk about one of the most common topics I get asked about, Chapter 13 bankruptcy. If you're dealing with debt and looking for a way to reorganize your finances, this might be just the right option for you. In this video, I'll be answering some of the most frequently asked questions about Chapter 13 bankruptcy so you can have a clear understanding of how it works and whether it's the right fit for your situation. So let's get started. Now, believe it or not, whenever you hear someone say, "Oh, I'm looking to file bankruptcy," they don't really consider the fact that there's two types of bankruptcies when there's a consumer filing. However, it's important to understand that there's two types. You have Chapter 7 and you have Chapter 13. A lot of videos and social media posts that talk about bankruptcy, from my experience, I learned talk a lot about Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So when someone is looking to file bankruptcy, they usually say, "Oh, I want to file bankruptcy," but they're talking about Chapter 7. However, it's an eligibility requirement that's necessary to determine if you file a Chapter 7 or if you are eligible to file a Chapter 13. It's not based on what you think. It's based on the calculations and the formula. The biggest difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 is a couple of things. So one, time. A Chapter 7 is 90 days long versus a Chapter 13 runs anywhere between 36 and 60 months. Two, one of the biggest difference between the two is one gets rid of your debts and one you are required to make payments on. So a Chapter 7 waives unsecured debts. Unsecured debts are things such as credit cards, payday loans. In some instances, it may include a vehicle. You may be able to get rid of a mortgage or a home if you so choose, depending on your financial situation. Let's say, for example, you wanted to get rid of a car. You can get rid of a car in a Chapter 7 by not agreeing to continue to make the contract payments, but still not be able to get a repo listed on your credit report. In a Chapter 13, the Chapter 13 is set up, many of us heard of this or seen this in the past, like a consolidation company where you put all your debts in a basket and you make a monthly payment towards all the debts that you have. Well, it's a similar concept in a Chapter 13 because it's a payment plan process. However, all of your creditors must agree to the payment plan you're offering, and in some instances, you may not have to pay all your creditors back. You may end up paying a portion of the debt to the creditors, and the rest of the money owed would be discharged, similar to a Chapter 7, where the rest of the money that's due gets wiped away. That's the biggest. Every situation is always going to be different. I always tell people, please go get an attorney to make sure you're doing the right thing so you don't lose anything simply by not understanding the difference between the two. Chapter 13 bankruptcy time frame typically starts at 36 months, but they can run anywhere between 36 to 60 months long. One of the most common questions I get asked about a Chapter 13 is, when does the clock start for the 36 months? Many people think that the clock starts the day your case is filed, but that's not actually true. The clock starts on the day your case is confirmed. Confirmed means all the creditors have agreed to the payment plan that you're proposing, along with the Chapter 13 trustee. The Chapter 13 trustee is the mediator between the judge and the attorney, or the debtor's attorney, and the debtor is the person who filed bankruptcy, to help come up with the best plan that meets all the eligibility requirements and meets all the laws required in a bankruptcy case. So when the case is confirmed and everyone has agreed, it's locked in. That means no changes could be made. That means everyone's in agreement. We're all set to go. This is the monthly payment amount that the debtor is going to pay, and this is what it will be for the next 36 months. Again, that clock starts at the date that the case is confirmed and not on the day that the case is filed. When the case is filed, if it takes 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, it can take a while to get all of the creditors on board and in agreement before the clock starts and the clock runs anywhere between 36 and 60 months, or 3 years to 5 years. A lot of times people ask, well, how do I know if I'm eligible for a Chapter 13 bankruptcy? There's a few things. One could be you own a home. If you own a home and you owe past due taxes, or a significant amount of past due taxes, or you owe a significant amount on your mortgage, and you want to keep the house, you may be a good candidate for a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, because if you are in foreclosure, whether that's through the property taxing authority or whether that's a mortgage company, the Chapter 13 plan will allow you to work out deals or propose deals to the creditor. And as long as the creditor agrees, you're able to stop the foreclosure and work out a deal to make payments in order to stay in your home. If you said, well, property taxes are due, I can't afford it, I can't afford no Chapter 13 plan. Sure, you can probably consider a Chapter 7 as long as you are open to the idea that you may not want this house anymore. If you want to keep the home, one of your best bets is to go into a Chapter 13 and be able to work out a payment arrangement over the next 3 years, over the next 60 months, that will be able to get you back on course with your creditor in order for you to keep your home. You know, one of the things I would say, about a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is that you're able to keep all your stuff. Like, you have clients here in Michigan specifically, because everywhere is not the same. In Michigan, especially in Detroit, is one of the few places that I've ever got to see people, average middle class people that own a house, a car, a boat, a Harley, and all of them at the same time. Can you imagine that? Maybe even they'll have a house up north, like a cottage, in addition to all of these other assets. Well, one of the benefits of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy is that you'll be able to keep all your stuff. Because you are working out deals with your creditors and making payments, then there's options for you to keep assets while doing that. Versus in a Chapter 7. In a Chapter 7, the job of the Chapter 7 trustee is to see if there's any assets that they could liquidate. Meaning they can take, sell, get money for, and use it to pay some of your creditors. Versus in a Chapter 13, you're voluntarily agreeing to make payments, so you voluntarily keep the stuff that you got. It's pretty interesting, I think. When considering filing for bankruptcy, there's a couple of things you want to do. It's not to really say there's a significant difference between preparing for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy versus a Chapter 13, but instead what to consider when you're going to file a bankruptcy. And the answer is always going to be the same. First, you want to consider, how behind are you on your debts? You want to consider, do you have more than $2,500 in debt? You want to consider making sure you have your taxes prepared for the last 4 years. And I say 4 because you need up to 4 tax years filed if you're going to file a Chapter 13. If you're filing a Chapter 7, then you need at least 2 years of the last 2 years of tax returns filed. If you were divorced within the last 2 years, you might want to have a copy of your judgment of divorce prepared or available, because the attorney or the court might ask for a copy of that. You want a copy of your recorded deed if you own a home, along with an up-to-date or more recent mortgage statement. They're definitely going to want an ID and your Social Security card. Believe it or not, most of us don't have our Social Security cards in our pockets or nothing like that. And so a lot of times we lose our Social Security card. Did you know you can get a replacement for free? Oh no, right? So one of the things you will need in a bankruptcy is a copy of your Social Security card. And you can actually reach out to the Social Security Administration and Google replace Social Security card. And it's free. And you just get a new one. They mail it to you in the mail, right? But these are common things that are needed when filing a bankruptcy: bank statements, pay stubs, titles to cars. In Michigan specifically, once you get a vehicle, if you buy it cash or if you buy it through finance, you will get the title of the vehicle. But if you have a lease vehicle, you will not receive the title of the vehicle. And so you want to make sure you know how are you purchasing that vehicle, because that makes a difference when filling out the paperwork for a bankruptcy. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you're looking at about 60 to 7 pages in total for all of the documents needed when filing. But a Chapter 13, more than that. It could be like 80 pages or more. So the idea is to be able to use and explain all of your finances through these documents, to be able to get all of the creditors to understand the story behind your financial situation. The chapter trustee, so whether that's Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 trustee, as well as the judge, to be able to see what's really going on in your situation. Is it a garnishment? Is it, sorry guys, you know the people be calling me while I be on this video. Anyway, we got to keep working, right? You know what I'm saying though. We trying to make sure we have everything we need, because you got to understand, especially as an attorney, I just met you today. I do not know how your finances were situated over the last 5, 6, 10 years. That means you have to help me tell the story. As a median, the job of the attorney is to help represent you using the law, to help tell your story, which means you have to provide the documents of your story. The longer it takes you to provide the documents, the longer we can tell the story to judge. The sooner you give the documents, the better. We also need things like a credit report. We need to see who you owe, who you don't think you know, which debt went to collection. You know, like when you owe the cell phone bill and now it's MDC, something calling you from 1-800 number. You don't know who it is. We need to know, oh, that's the person that AT&T sent the debt to. That will be listed on your credit report. So we need as much information as possible about your financial situation, as to where you are and where you've been, to be able to explain the story and make sure you're being placed in the correct chapter of the bankruptcy needed for you. I hope this video answered some of your questions or made you think a little deeper about why you should be filing, why are you considering filing, and if and when you do speak to an attorney, getting a little understanding if they do tell you that you qualify for a Chapter 13. In the meantime, we ask, like everybody else on YouTube, that you like, subscribe, checkbox, something else. Anyway, listen, when you need help, ask a question, find an answer. Let us help you. That is our job. We went to school for this. We practice this. We have experience in this. The only thing I ask is you do not attempt to do this by yourself. Ask a question first. Okay. See ya.